It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the SUNY Brockport head gymnastic coach, Coach Dr. Rene Lyst. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to become a college gymnastics coach?
Well, funny thing is, I was pretty adamant I did not want to coach growing up, and I had thoughts of going into the foreign service was kind of my interest. I, got my degree in international politics and thought I would head that way, but you have to take an exam, and I felt like I wasn't quite ready. So I started looking at graduate programs that I could coach and get my master's in poli-sci. And I ended up getting a position at University of Massachusetts, but school had already started. So I had to just coach for a while before I could start school. And probably about 2 or 3 months in, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to change directions. I really like this college coaching thing. And so ended up changing my career path and, ended up getting my master's in sport management rather than political science to kind of launch off my coaching career.
What was that like, obviously, getting to compete at Penn State for gymnastics?
It was a great experience. It was not easy, that's for sure. But I had great teammates and we had great success. We ended up 1 year fourth in the country, and that was probably one of my most memorable things about Penn State is just the team effort and how we all really sacrificed for each other and worked hard for each other and really accomplished a lot more than maybe our talent would lead you to believe we could do because of our determination and our great team chemistry.
How was that like, obviously, getting to put on that Penn State uniform?
It's pretty cool. I think, anytime you're at an institution that you're representing, the uniform to me is very special and sacred. At the time when I was competing, we did a lot of our own personal enhancements to the leotards. Like today you see them on TV and they're all sparkly and all this stuff. Well, back when I was competing, they didn't really make them like that. You had to do that yourself. So we did quite a few bus trips of gluing rhinestones onto our Leos or sewing rhinestones onto our Leos to make them special. And so I think, that even made probably more of an impact on me and the importance of uniforms because we had either the burden or the opportunity, whichever way you look at it, to kind of create our own.
What was that like, getting started in college coaching and going to Massachusetts Amherst?
Going to UMass, the head coach that hired me, he had been an assistant at Michigan, so he knew me basically just from competing against Penn State when we moved into the Big Ten. And it was a really great experience because it was just he and I, and he really gave me a lot of responsibility. I was the head coach for balance beam, which kind of has been my forte in my career, and really allowed me to grow as a coach without micromanaging. And so I learned a lot of lessons early about how to be self-starter, how to solve problems, things that you continually use every day in coaching.
What was that experience like, going back to your alma mater of Penn State to become the assistant coach?
When I went back to Penn State, I got to work with my coaches that coached me. I got to coach some girls that I had helped recruit to the program as a student athlete. So it was really a cool experience. Probably the most memorable moment for me personally was coaching one of the athletes, Nikki. She broke my beam record while I was coaching her, so that was really cool to be able to be a part of that process, to coach the athlete that broke your own record at an institution that you love. So I really enjoyed that. The girls were great. We had a very successful year, and it was just super positive.
Of course, what was that experience like, going 1 year out of Penn State, then coming back to Penn State versus going straight to Penn State after college?
Yeah, so I was actually at UMass for 3 years, and so there was a little bit of a gap, but I think it was really positive in the sense that I had gotten experience and I wasn't exactly the same age as the girls on the team anymore. So there was a little bit of a, buffer there. But of course, I still, was ingrained in the traditions, and, a lot of the things you do internally in a program were so familiar to me and meant a lot to me. So I really cherished that experience with those guys.
As a coach, what were some of your accomplishments during your time at Penn State?
Well, like I said, helping Nikki to break the beam record. We were able to we made it to the national championships that year. We had a couple All-Americans that year, which I was able to help coach and, help to grow. And I do believe Ellen Casey won a Big Ten title that year as well. And just to get a part of helping them represent Penn State in the Penn State way and, helping them grow as athletes, there are certainly very, significant things to me.
How is that like going to the Pac-12 and going to coach for Stanford?
Yeah, so Stanford was a totally different experience. At the time, I was dating my now ex-husband, and he got the head coaching job at Stanford, and they did not really want to hire me because of our relationship. But as in most things in life, things work out for a reason, and school was starting. They couldn't get anyone to move there to take the job. So I was hired as an interim coach. And it was an amazing experience. Those athletes were so talented and obviously very, very smart women. And so it was fun because we really tried to bring some joy into their training, some joy into the sport. A lot of them had been at a very high elite level and were kind of burnt out. And so we really focused on making it fun, and we were able to win the Pac-10 championship that first year, which was absolutely insane because nobody even thought we would be in contention. So, I learned a lot about how to adapt in coaching, how to adapt training for, people managing injuries and such, because a lot of these guys had, long chronic injuries that we had to manage, and the whole mental aspect. They were all extremely type A, perfectionists, and that can really be a detriment in our sport. And so helping to, work through that with them to reach their potential, I learned a lot as a coach of how to help my athletes that I'm working with.
Of course, while at Stanford, what was that like getting to coach the first national champion?
It was so cool because Larissa had gotten hurt during the year, and she was an exceptional athlete. And she only was able to compete vault that year at regionals. And she won regionals, which qualified her to the national championships. And, in perfectly girl fashion, we called her the princess all weekend and gave her a crown. And she vaulted in, at that time, the system was a little different. She vaulted in prelims and she qualified to finals. And at that time in our sport, you had to do two different vaults in vault finals. And she had two very strong vaults. And she got a great draw. She drew last in the vaulting competition, and she nailed both of them. I mean, I can still feel it and see it to this day. Like, just knowing she was so set up for a great experience, and then to have her end up winning and being the first national champion for the program at Stanford was absolutely awesome. And she's an unbelievable person, and I felt so privileged to be a part of her journey.
Of course, leaving Stanford, what was that like taking that co-head coach job at Arkansas?
Yeah, so Mark, my ex-husband, and I had been very successful at Stanford, and Arkansas added women's gymnastics and was looking for coaches basically, and it was an opportunity that was presented to us, and it was pretty scary because honestly, I didn't even know where Arkansas was on the map because not a lot of people go there, for vacation or anything. So I was like, okay, where is this place? But we knew they, being in the SEC, they had all the tools to be successful. We were going to have a new facility. They were renovating the competition facility. We were going to have the funds to travel and have a really first-class program. And so we felt like with our coaching ability and our connections, we would be able to recruit athletes to go there, make it a successful program. But it was a big leap of faith, honestly. But it all turned out for the best and turned out to be an absolutely amazing experience.
How was that experience like building it first from the ground up versus when you went to Arizona State, it was already built?
Yeah, afterwards, I probably learned a lot more than going through it. But, at Arkansas, because we were the first coaches and built the program, we were able to establish our culture, our environment, like the type of athlete we wanted in the program that had the same values and same, goals as what we were trying to achieve. Going to ASU, taking over a program that had a long time coach, it wasn't the same culture, right? It wasn't the same animal, so to speak. So, learning to try to adapt to somebody else's program to eventually get to yours, it is a little bit trickier, than just starting from nothing.
Of course, what were some of the things that you accomplished at Arizona State in your 1 year as head coach?
I was there too. And I think, we had representation at the national championship. Taylor won vault at regionals and made it to nationals. I think the biggest change was the culture change. When I first got there, and this is a very simple example, the team was not very academically oriented. The two classes I recruited that came in immediately were all honor students, all, really exceptional young women, and they really changed the attitude and the goals of the program academically. And also, therefore, they were much more disciplined student athletes. So it kind of changed the culture of the program because of their personalities. And, they've been very successful since I have with those athletes. Initially, they were extremely successful with those athletes. So I feel very good about the opportunities those young women got, but also what they gave to Arizona State and improving the program.
Of course, how has your coaching stops led you to where you are now?
Oh, that's a good question. I think now, I'm at SUNY Brockport. It's a D3 school, which has not really been my background. But I think because of all the lessons I've learned through my career, that I am able to capitalize on the bits and pieces that can fit into this program to help them have a great experience, but also be very successful in the gym. And it seems to be working okay at this point.
What are some of the things that you took from your experience on the D1 level to come to the D3 level?
I think just doing smart gymnastics with really high expectations. I feel like my coaching is I try to maximize every routine to get the most points possible out of every routine. And that's been a little bit of a change. A lot of that is very intentful to be competitive on a national level consistently. And so that just philosophy has really helped the girls see opportunities and potential they didn't think they might have had before. And that's been fun to see them learn new skills, put new combinations together, be successful out on the floor with all the work we've done in the gym. So I'm really proud that they've bought in and they've done the work to be where they're at.
What was the feeling like getting announced to become the next head coach for Brockport?
Well, I was excited, but also a little nervous, because I know the program had been very successful and Coach Feeney had done a great job here. And I wanted to make sure that the lessons I maybe didn't do so well at ASU, taking over that program, that I improved on those things here at Brockport. And I feel like I worked hard at that, and that has also gone very well.
How's it been like, obviously, building the culture and building it as your own?
These girls are great. They really want to be successful. They have a lot of passion. And so it's just been fun. I've had a lot of fun. I've probably had more fun here coaching than I've had most of my career, just because of their passion and their drive. And it's very collective. And I'm really enjoying that process.
What does a typical meet look like as a head coach versus your athletes?
Well, hopefully they can just focus on gymnastics. I have to worry about a lot of other things, the, transportation and the food and the judging and the equipment and, all that kind of administrative type stuff that, has to be done, and somebody has to do it even though you're still having a competition. So I try to make sure to be well prepared, be very organized, so it doesn't put a burden on them while they're trying to be their best out on the competition floor.
Who are some of the teams that you compete against on competition day?
Well, in this area, we see Ithaca, Cortland, and Cornell quite often. Also in our division, we have Ursinus and Springfield College. And, we'll go, this year we went to Bridgeport and saw some different teams. And, next year we'll be going to Temple and seeing a few other teams here. But, we say a lot to our D3 schools here in the East, and we have really good relationships with them. And, we see each other a lot.
What was that like, obviously, getting to compete against Cornell?
I think it's a great measuring stick for us for what we're trying to accomplish here. We want to win a national championship, and, they are at the D1 level. And if we're right there with them, I think that really prepares us for our postseason.
Of course, in gymnastics, what is that like, obviously, going against D1, D3, and D2 schools?
I think the playing field, for the most part, is getting more even. I think the one thing about the D3 schools, we have extremely talented athletes. We just may not have as much depth of those athletes. So, for example, I would have a pretty strong bar team. We have 4 bar routines that are exceptional, that be competitive at the D1 level, but 2 that are not as exceptional, we'll say. So, that means we're going to have to count at least one score that's not coming from the hardest routine possible. So, I think the nuances are just a little different, but as far as the rules, the judging, all of that, it's all the same.
What does the recruitment process look like for those prospective gymnastics?
Yeah, I think those coming to D3, it's a little bit later than the D1 athletes in their, high school years. But at the same time, it's very similar. We, watch competition, we watch video, we meet the girls, see if they, have the same interests as our team as far as personalities and academic interests, and, how will they fit into the program? Can they be competitive? All those things are factored into the recruiting process.
For those prospective student athletes, what does that visit look like coming to SUNY Brockport?
We'll do a full day of, academic meetings, having lunch with the team, a tour of campus, watching practice, spending, quality time with the girls in the dorms or doing team activities with the team, probably watch some sort of sporting event, or if that's not available, we've done like some hikes in the area. We've done, we went to the apple orchard, one weekend. It just kind of depends on what's going on campus, but we try to do a day of all like academic, financial aid, touring, all that kind of stuff. And then a bunch of time with just spending time with the team, getting to know the girls. And, it's a lot of fun.
As a head coach, what is that like, seeing those freshmen put on that uniform for the first time and represent the university?
It's pretty cool. They've come here with a dream, and to see them start on that journey and know you're helping them achieve that, it's a pretty proud moment.
How's it like, obviously, seeing those athletes put on that Brockport jersey for the last time?
Yeah, we just had senior night here, and while we still have a couple more competitions, it's getting closer to the end for the seniors, and it's bittersweet, because you don't want them to leave. They made such a big impact. You have personal relationships with them, but that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to graduate and go on and have successful, fulfilling lives. And you're just a part of that process of them, becoming the adults that, they want to be. So I would say bittersweet is probably the best way to describe it.
How's it like, obviously, seeing them go on into the world and go into their careers, and even some go into professional gymnastics?
You feel proud, you feel proud that you were able to have a relationship with them, that you could impact their life, influence them in some hopefully positive way, and that you were part of the process to make them successful. And so you always feel proud about those moments.
What are some of your future plans for the program moving forward?
Well, honestly, I want to keep this program at the top of Division III, that we're in the vie for a national championship year in and year out. And that's really what I'm focused on as the coach here.
What advice would you give those high school athletes that are looking to become college gymnastics athletes?
I think that the biggest thing any recruit should know is college is a lot of fun as far as competing, but it's still a lot of work. I think a lot of gymnasts, they're very individualized, competing through their growth, formative years, and they look at college as, oh gosh, this is going to be so fun. And it is fun, but it's still a lot of work. Like if you want to be good at anything in life, you still have to work hard at it, right? So it's different because you have teammates your same age going through the same things as you, and you have a closer bond. Obviously you're away from home, so you're becoming your own person, but it's still work. But it's so rewarding at the end that it's worth every bit of it.
What advice would you give those freshmen that are entering freshman year of college gymnastics?
Enjoy the moments. It goes fast. Try to be your best every day. There are a lot of things in life you cannot control, but you can control yourself, and being the best you can be every day is a good place to start, and really take pride in what you're doing.
What advice would you give those people that are looking to represent a national team like US or Canada?
Oh, wow. Just have to have a lot of belief in yourself. You're going to face a lot of obstacles along the way, and that persistence and that faith is what will keep you going.
What advice would you give those future college coaches looking to get started in coaching?
I would just say put yourself out there, start making connections, work camps, go to competitions and introduce yourself if you're in the sport. Just really making connections, like in any business, is the best way to build a career in collegiate coaching.
What advice would you give those head coaches that are looking to build their own program?
I think one of the things that's really important is building your staff. And sometimes you're limited based on location or resources, but it's so important to create a staff that is trustworthy, knowledgeable, and will help promote the philosophies that you're trying to promote within your program. And so I think it's very important who you have around you as you build your program.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the program at?
Well, I am on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and I have to, let me see, I think on Instagram, Gym Coach R Lyst. I'm on Facebook as myself. I know we have Brockport Gymnastics on Instagram. It's pretty easy to find us, I think.
Thank you again, Coach Dr. Rene Lyst, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with the SUNY Brockport head gymnastics coach.
Thank you very much.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.